Welcome, I'm Wessel Botha from Enterprises University of Pretoria, and I'll be discussing the impact of modernisation on skills today, a project commissioned by the Mandela Mining Precinct in which we conducted in collaboration with the CSIR. As an introduction, the background, this project builds further onto previous studies done, which is titled the Full Modernisation Impact Assessment, also conducted by the Enterprises University of Pretoria, which served as a foundation to the actual current study. The outcomes of the study indicated that there was a need to investigate the specific impacts of modernisation on skills, and what are those future skills that we are looking towards. The current project focused on the identification of skills needs, specifically within three designations. Those designations is the rock drill operators, winch operators, and the shaft timber person. As new skills, upskilling and reskilling will be needed for mining modernisation, the study aimed to conduct a skills needs study which may allow identifying these skills for those three designations. Through investigation into Mining Skills 4.0, recommendations for curricular changes to the Mining Qualifications Authority, and those skills programs will become evident for those three specific designations. So it's necessary for us to understand that this is not a skills list for the industry overall, but specifically to three areas. The current project focuses on the identification of these skills needs, as I said, for those three designations, and we worked in close collaboration with the MQA, the Mining Qualifications Authority, as well, to identify those current skills as well as some of the future skills needs. So a lot of the study was based on what our sector skills plans look like and our projections into those skills development areas over the next few years. So we had basically three objectives for the study. Objective one was to actually conduct the skills needs study for the mining modernization process, specifically regarding to those three key affected designations. As we found in some of our other studies, rock drill operators is an affected position, and we thought, let us focus our study towards a designation like that and see what the future holds for those designations. Conduct a gap analysis, that's our objective 2, of the current versus the future mining skills required for what we refer to as Mining Skills 4.0. Objective 3 was to actually then develop a skills needs matrix with the technical leadership skills needs of those designations. So these objectives have been met and obviously supported through literature review, data gathering and case studies, and then a recommended skills needs matrix was designed per designation. Research methodology, we obviously looked at starting off our research with a literature review, which always creates some form of a foundation to a study. We utilized online questionnaires and a case study analysis. Due to the impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic, global pandemic that we're under, we could not conduct on-site investigations. So we had to conduct all of this through online questionnaires as well as online interviews and group workshops and stakeholder validation sessions. So as I said, one of the limitations was that we could not actually go into the operations and partake into the day-to-day operation and investigate the skills there in a physical manner. So we had to rely on experts to provide us with inputs into that. Starting off with our literature review. Now, it was clear that there are new skills requirements within the mining sector. For the purpose of the study, these can be grouped into three major areas. Now, the study started off firstly investigating technical skills and the leadership skills. And it was soon found that there's actually also the need for a digital skills. So it was found that modernization might bring about not only reskilling and upskilling, but there might be the need for completely new skilling. The term new skilling refers to a complete set of new skills that will be required within the position. For this study, the skills requirements of three designations were investigated, as I said, and the initial findings from the literature review is that all these designations will share a combination of the following skills. As an example, active listening skills, monitoring, critical thinking, speaking and reading comprehension, judgment and decision making. Relevant to the digital skills and reskilling of required future technical skills also becomes evident. It was discovered that the MQA is focused on many positive initiatives that they are rolling out in market, in the sector, and which is focused a lot on the practical skills. So there has been a drive towards the development of practical skills, which was some of our previous findings and other studies conducted already showed a disconnect between the requirement of industry versus the output of educational institutions in South Africa. So it is also evident that there is a digital transformation taking place, and that skills at all levels in operations should be geared towards this transformation. This would require revision of the current competency frameworks and skills programs to include elements of Industry 4.0. For instance, digital interaction, usage, and transformation. So, some of our findings from this study. It was evident that there will be impacts on the skills, requirements of the future of these three designations. However, these impacts might not be as dramatic as we expect. So quite often people think modernization, oh my word, we all need new skills. We all need to become IT experts. The reality of this is that the technology is changing in small increments, and that the adjustments is actually being made on site from a month-to-month, year-to-year basis. Increased alignment between the educational institutions and operations may ensure that the skills requirements are actually being addressed correctly. Now, this is again an area where stakeholders need to sit around the table, and we need to develop a similar strategy where education can support the strategy of that industry and not the other way around. Educational frameworks in terms of qualification and skills program approvals need to be revisited and aligned align to the speed of change taking place. So quite often we found that there's a lot of bureaucracy and levels to go through for the approval of qualifications. Yet the mine operation might already have a qualification or skills program aligned to their needs, yet they have to go through, or they have to jump through many hoops to get that approved. And thus cannot roll it out. So the skills on levels in qualification for the three designations will change as mining modernizes. An example being that the need for on-setter certification for the shaft timber person to support skills mix needs. One of those aspects, for instance, of the skills mix needs is multi-skilling, where an operator might require more than just the single skill of actually operating the machine. The designations will require higher basic literacy levels, and that's something that boils down already into our primary and secondary education levels. The inclusion of digital skills into the skills matrix per designation is needed for mining modernization. As designations will move away from the face and with using of modern technologies, some basic digital skills will be required across these designations. The designation may need to cope with basic data analysis, interpretation, and dissemination. This does not mean that we all need to, as I said, all need to be IT specialists or communication specialists. It is about understanding the data that's being put out by our machine. The designations may have the potential to be future multi-skilled designations, implying that possibly the shaft timber person may need skills to support new roles or jobs in the future. For any change, including skills or roles change, it may be suggested that change management form a foundation to that change taking place. The draft change management guideline that we've done in a previous work study may be used to enable change management, or a simple ADCAR process may be utilized. For the shaft timber person, an on-setter certification could become part of the future qualification requirements. As I said, again, these are future predictions that we are making, and a qualification like that could ensure that our shaft timber person is a well-rounded, multi-skilled individual. This links in with the aspect of multitasking, as I've just said, and the identification of future jobs impact, where an individual might not only perform their own job, but also jobs related to neighboring divisions. There remains a disconnect between the needs of operations and educational institutions. This has been found across various sectors, so the mining sector is not unique in that factor. Yet, as a large contributor to the GDP and to employment in South Africa, it's necessary to address that as a sector as a whole. The MKA will also need to consider skills needs for the affected designations through mining modernization and review their actual curriculum that they put out. It is recommended that a study be conducted into the specific technology changes, how that technology will change, what impact that will have on these various designations. Additionally, the role profiles, remuneration, and organizational structures may be impacted in the mining modernization, as employees are obviously upskilled or reskilled and obtain new skills. This may need a deeper understanding. So some of our recommendations. As I said, there were skills matrices developed for each of these three designations. And we will see the rock drill operator there as an example. We looked at the three areas. The first one being a technical area, the second one being a leadership skills, and the third one being our digital skills. Now, there was quite a lot of similarities between the three designations in terms of technical skills. What we have found is that there's not a dramatic, complete change in the actual technical skills. In leadership, we found that there is quite a big change in terms of our communication, how we interact with other divisions, how we report, and how we utilize our data to actually report on our operations. So something between the technical and leadership is a change from a technical into a maintenance role for all three of these three designations. And then on the digital, again, we refer to the word basic. We don't need to become a fully fledged ICT expert, but we need to understand data analytics. We need to understand if my machine is providing me with information, what do I do with that information? What is important? What is not important? What is critical? How do we create preventative maintenance instead of a reactive approach to maintenance? As was said earlier, a necessity for adopting these new skills would be change management. And it can either go through a change management guideline, as we've done in previous work studies, and it can be referred through the Mandela Mining Precinct, or we can use a simplified model of the ADCAR change management process. So the value of the study to the industry, what is the output at the end of the day? The matrix per designation may be used to customize or adapt it to fit the modernization business strategy of the company. Where are we now? And if we are modernizing operations or we become a future fit operation, what do we utilize in that? So in our models, you will also see that there is areas on how to address the gaps between current and future skills needs. It needs to be noted that the matrix per designation supports forward-looking skills needs. The matrix per designation may serve as a guidance to the sector towards potential new skills, upskilling and reskilling needs, and also assist in informing development plans, profiles, and organizational structures. Again, it's going to be dependent on the strategy of that organization and how much effort they're going to put into their modernization processes. Mines may use, customize, or adapt the matrix as per the mine's modernization journey, as I've just said. I want to thank you for your time. Skills are changing. It's across various sectors. I think it's necessary for us as a sector to actually sit around the table, get the various stakeholders involved, understand a strategy in terms of skills development, get the regulators speaking together, the actual educational institutions, and the operations, labor representatives to all speak the same language. Thank you.